Hello, everybody. It's Friday. It's midday, which means one thing only. It's Wow Ergonomics with myself, Graham, and back for your pleasure is Mr. Stephen.
Good afternoon. How are you? Thank you for holding the fort in my absence last week. Firstly.
No, it's absolutely fine. Stephen did promise he would sing the theme tune to the show today, so take it away.
Fortunately, we have no theme tune, or if we did, it would be instrumental if there was going to be singing involved. So
if we did, it would actually sound a little bit like this, probably.
Oh no, hang on.
It's a long one. I think that's enough of that.
It reminded me of that song that Marty McFly sang in Back to the Future. Dream. Do you know where he sings the song for his mum and dad on the dance floor? I thought that was what you were going to play there, Graham. So
Dream Whip topping. Other flavours of ice cream are available. Let's do this so that we can do this. And introduce you to our guest today, who is the wonderful Sarah Bostock, all the way from... Where are you coming from, Sarah?
I'm in Dover. I'm a bit good Stephen didn't sing the theme tune now, I'll be honest.
Yeah, well,
everyone's happy about that, especially me.
What's it like in Dover today?
Honestly, rainy. Like, I've been living in Great Yarmouth. It's been sunny. Come here, rain.
Well, I think it's just the English weather everywhere today. Probably if we did a little check-in, because we're all in very different parts of the country. If we check in the Midlands, it's rainy today, is it?
It is rainy today, yes.
Yeah, and in Somerset, it's rainy today. So we can categorically say it's raining all over England, which means one thing and one thing only, which is we need to wear sunglasses. Come on, sun. Nice. Come on back out. We're fed up of all of this English weather this summer. We really need some sun because it perks.
There is a rumour, though. There's a rumour that the weekend's going to be quite decent, I think, isn't there?
I've heard that because I plan on jumping in the sea on the weekend. Ooh. I mean, if it's raining or not, but come on, sun. We need barbecues.
We have to come back to that, jumping in the sea at the weekend. We have to come back to that. But seriously, Stephen, and you know about this better than anybody.
Okay.
We do need a bit of decent sunlight, don't we? Because it decent light cheers us up, does it not?
It does. It does. Well, it sort of releases. I always get it mixed up. Endorphins? No, is it endorphins? It releases something anyway, and makes us more cheerful and happy and whatever. It's something like
releases. This is technical stuff now, folks.
Okay.
Stephen's company sell a product which actually changes the light throughout the day, so that you actually feel much happier when you're working. And it goes with your cadence rhythm and all of that sort of thing.
Circadian rhythm.
Circadian rhythm. Sorry, that's the technical thing. Yes. But the reality is that what it actually does is it releases little fairies into the world, which make you feel better. There you go.
I'm going to get the website updated to reflect that, Graham, because we'll have people asking about where are these fairies when they buy one of the Energy by Light products. So we need to.
Make sure. By the way, I completely made that up. Baccarat Kaizen have got nothing to do with that. But if you want to believe that little fairies get released into the atmosphere and that's what makes you feel better from this light, then that's what you can believe. That's fine. Sarah.
Hello.
You released a lovely post this morning.
Thank you.
With a dog, which is always great. And collies are one of my favourite dogs. I had a collie for many years called Rebel.
Oh.
Or in fact, his full name was Rebellious Rana of Will Warren.
Oh, that is amazing!
Wow,
because he was because if you have a show dog, they have to have a proper, name, and as do any kind of fully sort of pedigree type dog. They all have these stupid long names, and then you have to shorten them to Shep or something like that.
Right.
And the collie dogs I always used to find were very human. They tend to sit there on the sofa, little paws up, just watching the telly like a human. Is the dog that was in the photo, is he a bit like that?
Pretty much. He's also got that kind of teenage stubbornness of, I want to do this, we're doing it, where I try to, God forbid, I try to go to the bathroom. He put his weight on me, leaned back, and then when that wasn't good, sat on my feet and then leaned back. And it was like, well, I'm not moving. He's very much human sometimes. You forget he's a fluffy dog.
For anybody that's watching this and wonders or listening to this at home and thinks, when are they actually going to get to the ergonomics bit? What on earth has this got to do with ergonomics?
About 40 minutes usually, isn't it?
Yeah, it's normally about that far in before we cleverly turn it around, segue in a little bit of ergonomics. But actually, I mean, you've been working from home for a while, haven't you? So how has that been? There's been ups and downs with that, have there not?
Yeah, so I'm a social person and I love talking to people online, but it's not the same as that face-to-face interaction. But obviously when you work from home, there's no one there. But there's also the freedom that comes with it, because I realized when I had a job where I had holidays and all that stuff, all my friends were across the country. I was like, well, if I want to go visit 2 friends, my holiday's used up. Whereas now I've been working in Dover, I'm going to be here for like a month. And I've not had to book any time off. I can see everyone, but I'm still working. So it just gives you that freedom. And that's what I love about it. It's got its ups and downs, but the freedom is just, it helps with that, work-life balance that we all talk about.
Yeah. So when you say you're in Dover at the moment, so you're a bit of a kind of digital nomad, but in the UK, are you? Is that?
This is what I've been thinking about. It's like I can work anywhere. So if I save up, I could go work abroad. Like I'd love to go see the Northern Lights. I could go work in an igloo as long as there's internet. So it is just that, well, I don't have to be stuck in one place. Maybe I should stop renting my house and just keep moving across the country. Do you guys work from home?
I do, yes. I literally work from a 1 meter square spot. And I'm not allowed out from that 1 meter square spot. I mean, people bring me food, cups of coffee. No, I joke, but currently I work from home, and I currently work to spoil the illusion, everybody. I can't take myself seriously with these on. Hang on. No, nobody can. Sorry for anyone that's listening. I'm now removing my sunglasses, putting my glasses back on so I can actually see. I currently work from the corner of a bedroom, which I think is really probably quite common for a lot of people. I do have a proper desk. I have a desk that I can stand at as well. I have a proper chair and everything else. So from that point of view, I'm well set up. But it still feels like I'm in the home very much because of where it is in the house, and it still is a pain in the backside because every morning I have to set a sheet up with a frame and everything else, etc. My son, because it was A-level day yesterday, well done everybody that did their A-levels. My son did very, very well.
Good.
He got an A star, an A, a B, and a C.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
He was the only person in his school to do 4. It's 4 A-levels.
Damn.
And he's now off to Bristol to study theoretical physics, whatever that is.
That's stuff. I mean, well done him. I wouldn't understand it, but that's amazing.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Well, yeah, and when you think like one of those, the A star was in maths.
Oh my. Okay, can I borrow his brain, please? Because when it comes to maths, I just shut down.
Oh, he sits there and he does he did maths and further maths. And when he sits there and he does maths, and it's just like gobbledygook on a bit of paper.
Oh yeah.
So I digress. But the point is that he's going off to Bristol, and therefore a room is becoming available, and that room will become a studio, and then that will be good because I will finally have a space in the house that is just designated to work, and I feel that's really important.
It's kind of getting into that mindset, because even when you're working from home, you've got to get your head in that I'm still working, where I only a few months ago finally have an office space after all these years, and it's been so different. It just helps because you can shut the door on it. I also find wearing actual clothes, not lazy clothes, helps, because when I'm in lazy clothes, I'm like, I don't need to work. I'll just watch TV for an hour. I can see you in your PJ bottoms. We know.
Hoodie. Although hoodie was our staple uniform, Graham, wasn't it? Especially in the winter when we do this show. It is super dry central generally, isn't it, on a Friday in the winter between me and you?
Yeah, I live in a band T-shirt primarily because they send them to me for free. So
That's a win.
it's an absolute win. I very rarely buy clothes these days. Apart from sort of socks and underpants. I could probably
He just
even
blags the rest. He just blags it. His uniform, his wardrobe is blagged, basically.
Yeah, I could probably get free socks as well from bands because some bands have started doing that as well. I doubt anybody's going to start doing underpants, but there we go. It's interesting, and we had Samantha Harmon on one time. I don't know whether you know Samantha from LinkedIn as well, but she talks about dressing and the importance of clothes. And it was interesting what she was saying, that actually, as people have gone back into the office, it's caused a real problem for a lot of organisations, because some people have gone back in like the hoodie and the joggers and whatever, and then other people have gone like, now I'm back in the office, I'm going to dress real smart. And it's almost like whereas before probably people all went smart casual and were in the middle, now you've got the two extremes. And like some organisations really don't know what to do with it, because it's like, it's on the one side it's like and then on the other side it's like and it's it's really difficult. And actually, from a culture point of view, trying to bring those people together, it's then really difficult. But yeah, I know what you mean. I think you have to do something in your day, whether it's getting dressed in a particular way, or you have to make it part of your routine to actually get mentally ready. Stephen, outside of what you wear, what sort of things do you do in the day to sort of like get mentally ready to work?
I mean, I'm sort of quite fortunate. You can see from my background that I work in what was
Drinks
a garage.
Prime.
Drinks Prime. Wears Nike Air Jordans. No, I work in a converted garage. So at the other end is where my son sort of has his playroom part of it, and at the forward end is very much the work end, which is where I'm sat now. Interesting question, Graham. I think for me, I generally start work quite early, sort of 6:30ish. So I think I'm one of those people who's sort of up at 6 Monday all the way through to Sunday. So I generally, to get sort of into it, actually sort of get up, get ready, come downstairs and start about 6:30, just to sort of get into that flow before other people in the house maybe get up and distractions can come in. So I've already sort of kicked in, started. So if there are one or two things like children going to school or breakfast to make or things like that, that's not the starting point of the day for me. I'm already in it. That's in as a little 5 or 10 minute break, and then I can come back. So that's generally how I tend to do is to sort of start early and get into the routine. Really is the way I would tend to sort of get myself up and ready for the working day.
So what about you? Anything other than sort of like getting dressed in a particular way, or like,
my most important one, I'm not a morning person, so when I get up, it's straight to the kettle. I need 2 coffees before I do anything. I'm not functioning before those 2 coffees. If anyone interrupts that, I'm not very nice in the morning. Otherwise, I'm a delight. See, right idea.
Intravenous.
But it is literally 2 coffees and then just time scrolling through LinkedIn to kind of just chill. And then about 10 o'clock, I'll be honest, is when my brain starts going, let's get ready to work.
Yeah.
But that is my routine, is besides the clothes is coffee and then just a little bit of time on LinkedIn and just relaxing. And then I start checking my emails, then I start writing some content. But it's coffee for me. That's my routine. If that gets ruined, I'm not happy.
Yeah. Well, for me, as you know, for 4 years now, I've written a poll every morning without fail.
Oh, I know. I look, and I meant to ask you about this. Have you changed the time which that goes out? Because I always used to set my clock by 7:30, Graham's poll, and then it suddenly shifted to 8 o'clock. So I did mean to ask you, and maybe whether it was offline or online, but have you changed the release time of the poll?
I've changed it at the moment,
right?
Because it's the summer holidays.
Okay.
And what I found was, in the summer holidays, a great part of the audience were getting up later.
Yep.
So what, participation in the poll was lower, or the responses just came later in the day?
So yeah, and what you're aiming for with any post is kind of in the first 10 minutes, you're aiming for kind of an immediate reaction from a set group of people that you always get a reaction from, so that you start to get leverage. So then you can, I'm giving the game away here, folks, but here we go. You need that kind of leverage from people that are followers of you, who love what you do and always kind of respond to what you do. So you need them to be awake. If they're not awake, then you sit there and sweat like a pig for half an hour thinking, nobody loves me anymore. Actually, they might do. It's just that they might still be asleep. But no, what you need is that kind of reaction, because actually that kind of kickstarts the algorithm with LinkedIn as well. And so you're looking for that. And then what you do is you try and feed into that as well.
Right.
Really good point I'm going to make here, which is why people ask me all of the time. They say, well, what is it that actually makes your polls work when we've tried it and it doesn't work? It's because there's questions in there as well, folks. Yeah,
you've got to have that call to action.
Sarah will pick up on this in a minute for us. But if you are not asking questions other than the question, which is in the poll, which get inciting conversation, then nobody's going to say anything. Right? They're literally going to press the button. Think about this. Think about when you go to the supermarket and there's that thing on the way out, which is, how have we done today? Good, bad, indifferent, awful. Yeah. And you press one of the buttons. What do? You don't stand there and then chat at it, do you? And go, well, I'll tell you, actually, you haven't done very well today because No, you just press the button and wander on your way. So polls are like that. If all you do is do a poll where the whole concept of the poll and the construct around it is, all you've got to do is press the button and wander on with your day. That's all people are going to do. They're going to press the button, then they're going to wander on. You need to have something in there that makes them go, oh, I pressed the button, but now I've got to say something, because actually, and the amount of times I have had deliberately the comment, well, you didn't put this option in the poll. Well, the reason is I didn't put that option because I knew you'd say you didn't put this option in the poll. You know, because it makes people converse with you.
Stimulates conversation.
Stimulates conversation. So, but that is part of my routine every day, because for me it's and actually it starts about half an hour before I wake up, because I have trained my brain, and I genuinely mean this. I have actually trained my brain to now start to think about, before I wake up, what it is that I'm going to write that day.
How have you managed to do that? Like, my brain is flatlined in the morning. No matter how many times I try, it's just like, no.
I started in university. I started doing that. You can actually train your brain to start waking up before you wake up and start thinking about a particular subject. And I will ruminate over lots and lots and lots and lots of subjects in my head, and then it's like a roulette wheel, and it suddenly goes boom. That's what you're going to talk about today. And then as soon as I'm up and I'm writing, it will be right. Boom.
Now that's interesting. So if you look at you two as individuals, someone's clearly great in the morning and someone's great in the afternoon. Do you have these writing sort of sweet spots in essence, Graham? Do you find you're writing at your best first thing, and Sarah sounds like you're writing at your best later on?
Yeah.
Would that be a fair?
Oh yes.
Yes, that's absolutely right. And because of that, in terms of my scheduling throughout the week, in terms of what I do, I tend to do my creative writing early on.
First up. Yeah.
Whereas I tend to do my conversational content later on in the day.
So actually what you're doing is you're sort of identifying your sort of strengths and weaknesses and building your schedule around when am I going to be most productive for that task, and putting all those writing tasks at the front, and more the conversational podcasts and live shows later on in the day, where you probably, that's where you perform better in those. So that's really interesting around building your own schedule around when you think you're most productive, and your clients will get the best from you.
And the problem comes, and I'll talk to Sarah about this, but the problem comes when people interrupt your day.
Oh yeah, I get that.
Yeah. So when people throw a curveball at you and start like, oh, can I, phone you in the morning about this or that or whatever, and that's your writing time or whatever, you almost want to say, go away.
Yeah.
Because that is, you're in the zone. And if people take you out of your zone, it's like, then you've got get back in the zone, and then your day's pushed on. And then actually, do you find on days like that, Sarah, that you can get quite anxious and you can get quite?
So I kind of I've unintentionally done it. There's two things where if I'm writing content, I won't look at my emails. I won't pick up my phone. The only way you can get in touch with me is to call me, and I hope my phone's on loud. So unless we've had a pre-scheduled call, I'm not checking my phone. I'm focused on the writing, and then when I finish, I check my phone, and it's just
Sorry, I missed your 1,000 calls, but
like, oh, you called me 5 times. Are you okay? I was like, no, are you okay? We're worried about you. We've not heard from you. I've just been writing, and then it's like 6 hours later. I'm like, oh. But I've also unintentionally built my brand on being a Morgenmuffel, which is, it's my favorite word. It's German for someone who's grumpy in the morning. So even my clients know to go, can we schedule a call? Not in the morning. I know what you like. So can we do it in the afternoon? So it means my morning routine isn't affected. And also, if you've made a call with me, I'm going to show up. But if it's unplanned, I might be focused on my work and you won't hear from me for the rest of the day.
Yeah. Do you know what's really interesting about this, Stephen, is when people, we've identified that people are like this and that these differences are there. When organisations are trying to then bring people like this with these different talents into their organisation and then put them back in an office space, or get them to go back to working kind of the 9 to 5 or the 8 to 6 or whatever it is having over the last couple of years, with people having really kind of identified these things from working from home, is this part of where the problem actually lies, in that actually organisations really need to start understanding this better and going, do you know what? Those people are rubbish in the mornings. Why are we trying to get them there at this time to do this? Because it's just that's not the best thing for them.
No, it was interesting as you were saying that. It sort of got me thinking around that whole piece around that we've heard a number of guests talk about. It is that split between home and the office, and actually making sure that there are specific tasks you do at home and in the office. So the classic one was almost, look, if it's sort of administrative functions, actually that's the sort of thing that you could utilize your time at home better to do. But if you're in the office, don't go in the office. Don't make a special journey when there's lots of people around to collaborate with, to sit there and plow through Excel or whatever it would be, that administrative side of jobs. So it got me thinking about that, really, as you were saying, that is actually is individuals themselves. I guess there's got to be a responsibility on the individual as well to identify what task should I be doing in which location. And that sort of that was where I was sort of, that got me sort of thinking about that as you were having that conversation, as to individuals, not just the time, what time of the day are you best to do this or that, but also what is there a better physical location to undertake to do a certain job at?
I think so. I think one of the issues is that started to come out quite a lot recently, and I was having a conversation about this yesterday, is that, and it's especially some of the data that's coming off of Gen Z, is that actually they want to get back to the office when they want to, not because the office is particularly the best place for them to do their best work all of the time, but just because they do want to be in the office to learn from other people.
Yeah.
And they do want to be in the office for the social aspect of it. Does that kind of resonate with you, Sarah?
Well, funny enough, I temporarily, a few months back, started working with a company, still working with social gems, but I went because I was moving to Great Yarmouth, didn't know anyone. So I was like, if I go in an office, I can make friends. For me, it was the social aspect. I love everything else about my job, but it was seeing people in person. But you've also got in the workplace environment, it's also the culture that's important. Do people want to be chatting? Some just want to get on with their work, where others want to socialize. So it doesn't always work out. I mean, I left because people wouldn't even say good morning to each other. They just wanted to. It was after about 3 minutes of being there, I was like, it's too quiet. I remember dramatically slamming my head against the desk one day because I was like, I just need a conversation. And no one even batted an eyelid. I was just like, I've just slammed my head against the desk in this silent room and no one's even.
It is interesting, isn't it? It really does depend on what the culture is like within an organisation. Mentioning no names, I have been, when I was workplace assessing, Stephen, I've been in buildings where row upon row upon row of people in there, and nobody talks.
Like a library.
And it's like a library. You must have been in organisations like that as well. It's like you may find that some little group has moved to the side and they're having a little conversation, and every now and again they just go, sorry, But it's like a library, and it's just, but it's very English as well. That's one of the things that it is, because Stephen, whenever I was out in Holland, right, and I'd be interested to know what it's like where your company's based as well. But whenever I was out in Holland, it was very different. I'd go into an office and people were much more like, oh yes, good morning, yes.
Oh, I love that.
And up and like being much more gestural, and like, someone will walk in, someone will walk up to someone, go, hello, good morning, dum dum dum, and it's like coffee, yes, and it's like, and in England it's like, all right, Jack.
It's like, I'll be.
All right, Sarah.
Yeah, that is literally it. And like, I want to go work in Holland now because for me, I don't go to work in an office to actually do work. For me, it's to socialize. Where I worked years ago in a company and they put me right by the entrance to the door, and there were hundreds of people working there. And when I'm concentrating, I apparently look sad or stressed. So I was trying to work and I'd be focused, and every minute it'd be, are you okay? I've just walked in and you look really sad. Like, no, I was focused and now I'm not. So for me, the going into the office is for the social aspects, where I expect myself to be more productive at home.
Yeah.
I think there's a bit of a balance there. I think it's that task piece, I think, as well, isn't it? There are certain tasks that actually the quiet of a home is, or a small room within a larger building is probably more appropriate. I think it's that identification of location and task and putting them together. And as you say, Graham, you're talking about Generation Z and the going into the office. I do get that whole thing around the social piece, but again, I would question is it just going in the office for the sake of going in the office? There's a bit of it's trying to work out what's best for you. I guess this is where companies need to give people flexibility and allow people to sort of work out their own routine within a framework. You can't just have people going totally off, doing whatever. Giving people a bit of latitude to work out, well, actually, this part of my job is best at this time of day in that location, but that one is the complete opposite. That should be an afternoon, not a morning, and it should be in the office. That should be a morning job at home. And I think that's where people and companies need to give that flexibility for people to sort of work it a little bit out for themselves without going, you're in this day, you're in that day, you're doing this then, you're doing this then. Actually, if you want it a role or a task performed to the best of someone's ability to a really high level, give that flex as to when and where that task can be undertaken.
Now, I'm going to throw an idea in here, okay? And this idea actually came from a Sky TV ad. Thanks, Sky.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Sky.
But it kind of started for me in the middle of the pandemic, because I went to one of these and actually I thought it was nuts at the time.
Okay.
But now I've started to think about it and wondered whether it was just nuts because the technology wasn't right at the time and it didn't really work. But I'll take you on a little story here into my brain.
Okay.
So I was invited along to a collaborative working group on Zoom in the middle of the pandemic. I don't know, have either of you been invited to one of those?
No.
Once.
Yeah. So it was not a networking group or
Okay.
typical meeting group. It was a space on Zoom where you joined and then everybody was working together. Right?
Okay.
So you just got on with your work, but everybody else was there. Now, the reason I think it didn't work was because it just felt awkward, because all you could see on the screen was like other people working. You couldn't really interact with it. So you didn't have those opportunities like you would in an office where you go, oh, what are you doing then? What are you working on? You couldn't be nosy, right? Which is part of office culture. You know, that's one of the great things. Oh, I see you brought that in today. What's that? You've been watching that on the TV, all of that sort of thing. None of that would happen. And then every now and again, someone would talk and it would be like, oh my God, someone's talked. And then it was just weird. But cut forward to Sky TV, right? Sky have launched Sky Glass. Have you all seen the adverts for that?
Oh, yeah.
So this is their version of the Skybox has disappeared. You don't need the Skybox anymore. It means, very cleverly for them, that Sky Dish has disappeared, right? Because actually a lot of people were getting Freeview TV through the Sky Dish. And it's very clever. Well done, Sky. You've identified that there was a little bit of a
well done, Sky.
in your problem. So let's invent a Sky TV, and it's got a built-in soundbar, so you don't need to buy that anymore. And all of your favourite programmes are in there. And it's completely interactive, and it's also your computer, and it's everything. It's all in one.
Okay.
But then what they've launched recently as part of that as well, if you watch the latest adverts, is that there's now an additional camera you can get. Has anyone seen that? And do you know what that additional camera allows you to do? What? It allows you to watch TV with somebody else that's not in your home at the same time.
A bit like Gogglebox.
I was going to say
like Gogglebox.
Yeah. It's right. Two-person Gogglebox, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's basically like, okay, a bit like online gaming has been a massive thing for forever, right? Where, you know, you just out there and then, some other people to play games with. Now it's like, you're sitting at home on your own, you're watching TV. Actually, I'd like to watch TV with someone else. Boom, there's someone else on my screen watching TV with me, and you're sharing the same TV program, and you can talk to each other and all of that sort of thing. Lovely. But I just wonder whether the answer to some of this remote stuff will come in technology going the same way, whether in the future, especially around that kind of learning piece, whether it will be where you can go, right, actually, I'll have this off. I'm working on my own. This is all, just what I'm doing. And then it's like, actually, I could do with a bit of help with this. Actually, let's bring Stephen in now. Let's bring Sarah in, and we're all going to work together. And you can see what I'm doing on my screen, and we can all have a conversation, and I can see what you're doing on your screen. And do you know what I mean? Maybe, things like Zoom, etc., might evolve so that actually we can do more interactive work and actually then learn from each other. I'll throw that out there.
Well, I think it's a good idea. Like, as long as people aren't forced where you've got to be on this. So if you're like, actually, I work at home, I've got no one to talk to, I'm feeling a bit lonely, I want that environment, just clicking on a link and being able to have other people there, even if you're not talking, but hearing the sounds of people typing. I mean, I work with Jem, and we've been doing this for ages, actually, and I've never really thought about it. We'll video call each other, and then we'll suddenly stop talking to each other because we're both just working away. And then about half an hour later, we go, oh, you're still here. Hi. And then, so it's kind of like the office thing. You go, oh, yeah, I forgot you were on the phone. So I actually think that's, as long as they can get it to where it needs to be, that would actually be great, especially for people who are isolated. I mean, we saw what COVID did to everyone. We were all isolated. We needed that social interaction. So I guess the flip side, though, the devil's advocate piece is,
go for it. Yeah.
Does it then give the sort of technology that then stops people coming into the office. You don't have, you came in to do that. The three of you came in to sit next to each other to do that piece of work collaboratively. Well, actually, you don't need to come in anymore. You can stay at home because we've now got a piece of software. So I think a lot of it is, I think it's the application
It's
of
the
the
management
technology,
piece on the top of it. Yeah.
Exactly. This is a great piece of software that will do this, and it's good for that. But we don't want it to. So it's where it's being applied, isn't it? That could then create. I guess organisations, the risk for them is that sort of, we talked about great resignation and things like that. Is actually it could put more of a drain on talent because it's almost potentially forcing a bit more sort of home working. So that it's how it's being used, isn't it? As to using it appropriately and not just to get away from that return to the office that we've said drives collaboration, is actually, well, no, don't come in. So it's, I like it, but I think it's the risk is it's used for the wrong tasks in the wrong organizations and the wrong departments, isn't it?
Oh, I agree. I just think software needs to get even smarter than it is, because I do think a lot of answers could be out there through development of technology. Sarah, I mean, I hate email. I don't know about you. I absolutely loathe email. If people can send me a WhatsApp, it's so much better than if they send me an email. It just gets lost in the plethora. In fact, I use an email client now that actually turns people's emails into messages because I don't like email.
Is that why you never replied to my emails, Graham? You always replied to my WhatsApps. Now I know this. You should have told me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's a communication thing. People really need to learn what works and what doesn't work. But, going back to what you were saying earlier, you're not a morning person. You're more of a, late morning, afternoon person. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, even things like email clients and whatever, I think just need to get, smarter. We've got things like Calendly now and other book your appointment softwares are available, which look at someone's calendar and then says, this is blocked out here, so actually I can only make an appointment here. But we should have email clients that actually go, do you know what, that person doesn't really get going in the morning, so when you send an email to them, it arrives at a time when their day starts. Yeah.
Now, that's interesting. I've noticed, and I mentioned before about starting early. If I've gone to send someone an email at about 6:15, 6:20, something like that, there does come an option up within Outlook to delay it so it only sort of lands within their working hours. So it's sort of already there.
It's all coming, you see?
It's there, but it's, as you say, it's how do you then roll it out a little bit further and get it to do more than just for that. But yeah, I've noticed that a few times. I say whether it's something that
that really shouldn't be in the hands of the sender. What it should do is it should actually look at the calendar of the person, and actually that should all be set up so it's like Sarah doesn't want an email before 11 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
right?
I'm going to play devil's advocate here a little bit, because I'll get clients messaging me on WhatsApp. But mine is after I've had my coffees, then it's LinkedIn and emails. I actually prefer emails because for me, it's if you told me, can you do this for me? I would then email myself saying you need to do this, because for me, the emails, I can delete it or move it into the appropriate folder once it's done. My WhatsApp, because you're also talking to friends, just gets pushed down. So I actually prefer an email because I can keep track, and then I know I've got the thread, I know I've sent it, I know where we're at, and that puts me at ease.
Yeah, there are applications now, folks. Actually, that if you're interested, there are applications which will take all of your messaging from various different sources, and it will put it all into one place. Ooh. Did you know that? So you can have applications where it will say, right, it's coming via WhatsApp, or it will come in from this email, or it's coming from that service or whatever, but it will just push it to one place. And then all of your messages are all in one place, which I think suited. I think it's a massive area for AI going forward, which will be AI mailboxes, which will really start to learn from your habits around much more. It's already there, but we'll learn from your habits much more around sort of communication, and will actually go, That's spam. I don't need to put that in spam. That's good. That's going, even though I haven't identified it as spam, that is spam to me, right? Boom, not interested in that. Or it will just find a better way of throwing it up on the screen and going, do you really want this? No. Okay. Do you ever want to know something from these people? No. So that actually we start to get much better granulation of what information we have got, which is relevant and what's not. And then it's like, if Sarah emails me and it's about this, right? Yeah, every time that happens, it then doesn't just do a little notification on massive on the screen. It's like, Sarah has emailed me. Oh right, okay. I need to do something about that, because I think that's what we need. We don't need all these kind of, we now live in a world where we've got so many notifications coming in from so many different things. It's just confusing. What we need to do is somehow get AI to actually look at that and learn from us as well, and actually go, right, that's irrelevant. Oh yeah, that's really relevant. It gives you an electric shock or something. not I'm condoning electric shocks, but it would work for me, is what I'm saying. I don't know, for other people that's probably inhumane, and I'm sorry for even mentioning it.
I'd probably shout at my AI, to be honest, if it shocked me. But you can't tell me what to do. Stop shocking me.
Well, even things like Alexa in the corner of the room. If you listen to music or whatever, you could actually have Alexa just stop the music and say, "Oi!
Yeah.
Did you know Stephen's been trying to get hold of you all morning?" I mean, it does. That's it at
true
the moment.
Fact.
Yeah, but it does it. It does it at the moment when, like, an artist that you're following has just released a new single. It does the sort of amber ring of death sort of thing, and then you say, "Oh, Alexa, what notification you've got? You've been following this artist. Would you like to hear some songs by this artist?" No. Okay, but if it said, like, "Stephen's been trying to get hold of you, for goodness sake, would you like to hear his message?" Yeah, it'd be.
I could actually do with that in my life.
Wouldn't it be great? It'd be like, yes, and it would be like Stephen on the other end. "Oi, been trying to get hold of you." Be fantastic. We need these technologies.
We do.
I really, I think it's interesting where technology is going in terms of working remotely and how it is trying to help hybrid. And people might say, what the hell's this got to do with ergonomics? I'll tell you exactly. It's all to do with how can we work the most efficiently and most comfortably wherever we are.
Productively.
It's got everything to do with ergonomics. See, actually, it's a question we ask so many people, don't know why that's doing that, that come on here, Sarah, is when you hear the word ergonomic, what does that mean to you?
Oh, you're asking a question there. I mean, again, I know I've said it before, but it really is for me. I just think freedom, flexibility, it's having the choices. Yeah, I don't know if that helps, but that's what I'd go with. Sorry to backtrail again, but I've just had another thought, and I've seen it happen in so many businesses. Just to backtrack a little bit, it's with obviously if you've got a hybrid role, the good thing, when you get ill, we all get ill, we're human, but when it's
I don't actually, Sarah, I'm going to tell you now, I've had one day off in 30 something odd years of work.
He's not human.
He's not joking.
I'm just trying to see if I can see the wires underneath your top. Like, how?
I am a machine.
Oh, jeez, I could do with that. Whenever this house was full of COVID at one point, I was avoiding everyone. It's like, I can't do it.
It's just in my DNA. It's just
he's
there.
basically Bishop off Terminator. 1980s, 90s film reference or something like that. So
yes.
That's brilliant.
No, if my dad never had a day off ill in his life from work, and I was taught growing up, you don't have days off.
No.
The only time I've had it a lot going when I used to go to an office, I would go in no matter what, unless I physically could not stand up to get to the bus stop. But this is a thing I find is you can be ill where you're not ill that you don't need to call in sick, but the commute takes it out of you.
Yeah.
So it's if you could have that option to work from home that day because you're not quite right. One, you're stopping everyone else from catching it in the office and having it go in a circle. But it means you can, instead of commuting, which then wipes you because it's that physical movement of it, you can work from home and still be productive.
That's a very interesting point, actually. When I used to commute on a regular basis, Stephen, all the way into London from Somerset on a regular basis, at one point, one of the adverts that I saw a lot on one of the tube stations, on tube trains, was by a particular painkiller brand, and which suggested, and I wasn't sure that this was morally right, as the super vet would say. It suggests. Have you ever seen the super vet? He always says, "I'm not sure if this is morally right." But
was he Welsh? This guy?
No, he's Irish, but that was a really bad Irish accent. Sorry.
Work on that for next time, Greg.
Yeah, I'll work on it. But but these adverts used to say or suggest that if you took this product, you would be able to get to that meeting that day. You would be able to be in the office, and you'll be the one that gets the promotion. You'll be the one that doesn't lose out because you've made it in.
I see what you mean about morally there. It's saying don't. I mean, none of us like to be ill or calling sick, but that's saying if you do this, you'll be better than everyone else because you forced yourself to come in by dosing yourself up. And I'm like, I'm a believer of, yes, it's if you can still work, but if we all get that sudden hit. I mean, apart from Graham, who's a cyborg, we all get really hit by a bug.
Bishop is to be known from now on.
The bishop. You are the bishop. But this is it. We can't keep going. And if we don't rest, we can't recover to carry on working. And then
you prolong the absence period, don't you, then? Because you don't have that essential break. And you're right.
Yeah. But having said all of that, that's what I would do if I was feeling slightly under the weather, is I would literally dose myself up with whatever in order to get myself in. And actually, if you had a long commute, it was great. Because you dose yourself up at the beginning of the day. You get on the commute and you think, I've got 3 hours to get better. I've got 3 hours for this all to kick in, and by the time I get there, I will be feeling great again. Mind over matter, but it's not, is it? I mean, it's kind of ridiculous philosophy. Don't listen to me, folks. Listen to these two. They're talking so much more sense. But
it should apply to both of them, then.
Yeah, but I do wonder because that advert, clearly they felt that they had a audience out there. You know, nobody goes into a marketing campaign without an audience. I wonder how many people that is the philosophy that they have in their head, that actually it's, you know, I can take medicine, I can keep going, I can overcome, rather than thinking about, oh, but I might make everybody else in the office sick. And actually, they might not be as resilient as me. And actually, I might go in with whatever I've got. And, you know, Jimmy's away sick for the next 2 weeks. And actually, then you get back to the office and then you're moaning for 2 weeks. Well, I can't get on with any of my work because Jimmy's off.
He's off, yeah.
It's your fault that he was off in the first place.
Yeah, exactly.
That is exactly it.
Yeah, it's we need to allow an element of common sense with all of these things, I think.
I have to admit, I used to be that person that no matter how ill, it was drained into me. You go to work, doesn't matter how ill you are. I got to work. I don't know how. I don't even remember the trip, but I ended up trapped on the bathroom floor at work because I just couldn't stand up. I was dizzy, I was hallucinating, and I was still there going, I can work in 5 minutes, I just need to get better, to the point they sent me home and I had to get a taxi because I couldn't move. And I now look at it as, well, if I'm that ill, I'm going to pass that on to someone else. And then I don't know if they've got vulnerable family members, or I'm just passing it around. Everyone gets ill, everyone's productivity and workflow is, you disrupt it.
And maybe one of the lessons from COVID, where you would actively, you couldn't go and do something because of the risk of passing it on. Actually, maybe that's one of the things we learned from it, is actually if someone has got a problem, don't go in.
Yeah. That's exactly it.
Even if it's just a communal garden cold or flu or whatever it is, actually don't go in because of the wider implications and the wider impact of what you're doing and what could come from that.
That is exactly it. It can actually affect someone's life. I mean, people have passed away because of their immune system not being able to take it. So it's you're actually, by not going in, if you're that ill, you're actually being quite thoughtful and helping other people. Obviously, there's some jobs where you just can't work remotely, but if you're that ill and it's contagious, you think about the other people as well.
I think it's very hard for managers. I think managers need to sometimes change the narrative around illness. I think that's the problem. I think it's hard for people especially when they hear managers moaning about people being off when they're in, because I think that kind of builds that kind of head culture as well.
There's a lot of guilt calling in sick.
That's the problem. The thing is, if you're in an office space and somebody's ill that week and whatever, and you're there and you hear a manager going, "Oh, they're ill again," do you know what kind of problems that causes me when they're ill? Can't do this, can't do that, can't structure the rota for this, can't do this, can't get that project out the door. This is going to affect this company bottom line. We're all going to go bust. We're all going to go. Then next week you're ill and you're like,
what do I do?
You just remember that conversation in your head. You're like, I've got to get in. I've got to get in. I can't allow that to happen.
That's exactly it. You have that fear of, am I going to lose my job because I'm ill, where you are genuinely ill that you can't work, but you still feel guilty for it. But then that's going to affect, you're going to have anxiety even when you are ill at home, because you're like, I've called in sick. I know they're talking about me. I know I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to have to have a meeting about it. Where I go with, if you're that ill, if you can work from home, work from home. If you can't, maybe take the day off, because it's also helping the business by you not getting everyone else ill.
Yeah.
Because everyone's then going to have to try and work, and then everyone keeps getting ill because no one's taking time off to recover. So really, it actually helps your workforce by not forcing them to come in if it's going to affect everyone.
And taking that point and kind of pushing it and segueing it and bringing it completely back to ergonomics, because I always will.
It's only taken you 52 minutes, Graham, but well done.
We always try and ask, especially people that are involved in marketing, the problem with people working from a laptop, Sarah, and actually not using good ergonomic devices in order to raise their posture and make them sit better. How do we overcome that? And because thinking about it as well, it is a narrative in its own right, which is that we are seeing out there a narrative which is, I've got a laptop, it's okay to have poor posture, I can lounge on the sofa and work, I can work in a coffee shop leaning over, etc. Nobody wants to show themselves using good ergonomic kit. How do we change that narrative so that actually we start to get people to do the right thing and actually then prevent them having musculoskeletal issues or back problems, and therefore the world is a saved place? How do we do that?
Well, I actually found this out when I first started working remote. I was working from a sofa or a bed, and I didn't have any back support. And I realized my back was killing me every day, the pain of it. So I ended up buying a support back pillow because I didn't have a desk. I didn't have the room for it. And that helped. And I've actually started, it was yesterday, I was talking to someone called Kenneth, who has an alarm for every 45 minutes will go off to make him stand up and go walk. Because as you said, we focus on, we've got the laptop, great, we can work from home, but you're sitting down for a lot of that time. I do think, because I've been looking at those walking treadmills, like, so I can work, but I can't focus because I'm constantly moving then. But
a lot of face planting.
Find those really, really, really tricky. I have tried those. Yeah, tried those. I went into an ergonomics office, a very famous one, tried a treadmill, brilliant for checking email, useless for checking anything else.
That's what I wonder, is how can you focus when you're constantly, and for a lot of people who
gimmicky, isn't it?
It's
quite gimmicky. It's a bit like a bike as well, a bike desk.
Yeah.
I like the idea of it, but I feel like I couldn't do both at the same time.
No.
And again, touch typing, you know where the keyboard is. If you're moving, that that affects it as well, and how you type, and that would drive me insane. But I do think it's important that people focus on not just sitting down all day. I mean, I can be bad for it when I'm focused, but it really does affect your posture, the pain you feel, like your legs and everything. I mean, if we could find some more tech that could help with that, that would be great. Because
it's funny you should say that.
Because that's the right thing.
Over to Stephen Howe.
Shameless sales plug. I mean, what you've described with your friend there with the alarm. I mean, we do software called Work and Move, which basically is focused around that, which is around prompting people. If the software can sense that you haven't taken breaks during your day, it will prompt you to take small breaks that are pit stops or longer breaks, or actually encourage you to move. If you're working with a sit-stand desk, it will prompt you and remind you to sort of change your posture. So there are things out there. I think it's like a lot of things. It's making people aware. And you mentioned this before, Graham, about software and things like that. I think there's a lot of things that are out there that people would find useful but don't know about them. And that's one of the things probably with our software is I think it ticks all the boxes that Sarah's looking for, but it's an awareness piece, making more people aware that something is out there that can help them. But we just need to make them aware of what is in existence, whether it's a piece of hardware or it's a piece of software. You mentioned about marketing, Graham. I think it's just carrying on, talking about it, and making more and more people aware. It's the only way we'll succeed. To get away from those people on sofas and things like that is to keep talking about the story and the benefits and what else is out there.
Absolutely. Sarah, what we'd love you to do, what we would love you to do, as soon as we're off air, is take a photo of your work situation at the moment, how you work, etc., and send that to us. We'll send it to Stephen in particular, and then Stephen will see what he can send you in order to make that so much better.
Oh, you're going to hate it, because at the moment, because I've got an office at home, but right now the laptop is propped on a suitcase. I am using my bed pillows on the headboard to give me a bit of support. So you're going to hate it.
No, we're going to love it. Right.
We'll help at home if it counts.
Yeah. No, it's are you going to love it or list it? No, what we're going to do is are you going to love it or are we going to fix it? Yeah, that's our own version of Kirsty and Phil's fantastic
Absolutely.
show. So we will fix it for you. All right?
Oh, that's brilliant.
And all we asked in return is when we have fixed it, is perhaps you can tell a few people out there on LinkedIn land or whatever.
I know a lot of remote workers that would be interested.
Absolutely.
We all need the help.
Just how different it is.
Right. Definitely up for that. I'm very intrigued. Anything to get me to be healthy at home, because you put on weight as well, and it's so bad for your back and your posture.
Absolutely. You've been a star guest. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, even though I'm kind of rocking the poodle hair today. So.
Oh yeah, mine too. Mine's so hard it would go nowhere. Everyone goes, is that real? No, it is real.
No, it's not.
I'm now looking at the hair.
Yeah, it is real, but it will kill you if you touch it.
What have you been doing to your hair?
What?
Well, if you touch it, it will kill you. What are you putting on it? Cyanide?
It's incredibly strong wax.
Oh, you're just set for the wind.
Yeah, I don't suffer with wind at all.
Yeah,
he said.
And on that note,
brilliant.
And on that note, thanks everybody for listening, watching today. If you've been listening to this on Spotify, thank you so much. If you want to know where there's more of these, well, why wouldn't you, that you can catch up on, you can head on over to wowergonomics.com, where there's a plethora of these that you can spend hours and hours listening to. Just don't tell the boss. Until next time, when we will be back next week, same time, same place. It'll be a slightly shorter episode because frankly, we're just having to fit it in. Take care of yourselves out there. Do connect with Sarah on LinkedIn if you haven't already, and Stephen, and we will be seeing you very shortly. Bye for now.
Thanks, guys.
See you later.
See you later.